Hey people, welcome to Roads Untraveled by Ink That Matters. And this is Shireen Ishan. And today is yet another episode. It's an interesting episode where our guest is going to be a psychologist, hypnotherapist. He's also a model. So that's a kind of deadly combo. So a hypnotherapist and a model. So let's know more about him and what took him, to this platform as to being a hypnotherapist and being a model. So let's know more about him. So welcome to the show, doctor. So how have you been?
Yeah, thank you so much. You can call me Kenneth.
All right.
I really have to thank you for having me in your show, and it's really my privilege, to be here. So thank you.
All right. So, what actually you thought, are your expectations from the show? You would have thought of something, when I had invited you to the show. What are your expectations? If I could know,
Um,
probably I could go ahead and.
no, the expectation is I don't really have any such expectation, but the truth is that through this show, if we could just touch one person, if we could just uplift one soul, right? I think that's the purpose. I wouldn't say expectation, because when you have expectation and when things wouldn't go according to expectation, then you're disappointed, isn't it? So I don't have any expectation as such, but I have a purpose on the show, and through this show, if I could just touch somebody, or just to answer, or just to lead them. See, I'm not here to help anybody. I'm just a signpost, right? Just I'm going to just point to, what's within them already. So that's exactly what I have in my mind.
Okay, so that's a psychologist talking. I could sense that. The way the words are put across, that's actually a psychologist talking because I've spoken to a lot of psychologists before. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so a transpersonal therapist and a clinical, hypnotherapist. What exactly are those terms? What exactly is a hypnotherapist? What does he do?
Right. So it's a branch of psychology which deals with mental health. That to be precise, hypnotherapy. Hypno means hypnosis, right? The word actually derived by Anton Mesmer. It used to be called mesmerism before, and then it was then called hypnosis. So hypnosis is that actually, like you rightly said, there are movies that they talk about hypnotist, and he just looks at you. I get a lot of questions like that, even in my messenger and all, asking, oh, you hypnotize people. Oh, I'm so scared. But the problem is that actually the movie industry has created a complete different image of what hypnotism is. That it has actually been, seen as a tool to actually seduce somebody or something like that. But the truth is, hypnosis is actually a very clinical tool which actually is being used to take a person. For instance, right now I'm talking to Shireen, and we both are very sober, right? We are both actually speaking on there are four types of consciousness. So one such consciousness is actually beta wave consciousness that we are interacting right now, which means that when we are working, when we are studying, when we are paying attention, when we are being alert, and that particular state, that analytical mind, is actually called beta brainwave consciousness. But then when we are doing therapy, right, that's where the therapy comes into picture, that we have to take the client to their deeper subconscious mind. So from beta, we take the client to alpha, which is actually a semi-sleep state. And from there, we take them to another state called theta, which is a deep meditative state. And then you cross that, it happens to be the deep sleep, which is called delta, right? So what we are actually doing using the hypnosis is that clinically, the reason that we take you from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind is because 95% of who we are, our attitudes, our beliefs, our perceptions, our hardwired thoughts, conditions or patterns or habituations, all these are actually stored, all the long-term memories stored up in your subconscious mind. So that's this deep-seated memory. So if we are having challenge in our life, right? So I cannot actually resolve that on a conscious level because I can talk to you, but still, what impact have I made? Because it's just, it's on a top layer. You cannot just do that because you need to go deep. Like if you notice a still lake, right? It'll be very pleasant. It's very translucent, very transparent. It's so quiet. It's so calm. But the minute you pop a stone into it, now immediately it'll start bringing all the sediments and all the dirt that's settled deep at the bottom, right? And then suddenly this clear water turns muddy, right? Likewise, that when we are interacting, like everything is fine, but then the minute we go deep, and that's where everything is stored. So that's where the hypnosis comes into picture. Actually a clinical instrument, modality which is actually used. So it's a more of an holistic approach to invoke or to actually facilitate a person. I think that's the right word, to facilitate a person to resolve their inner challenges that they're having, be it anxiety, because these are very common, right? Because we are living in a world where anxiety, stress, um, worry, and then fear, all these are so common that we just, we are so fine living with these. But then as time goes by, then that takes a complete different toll on your body. So that's when a hypnotherapist comes into picture. So there are also counselors, there are also hypnotherapists, there are also psychiatrists. So each one is a different modality. But whereas what hypnotherapy does is actually going deep into your subconscious mind and resolving it there, because that's where everything is settled. If you want the lake to remain, so placid, to if you want it to remain so translucent, so transparent, so still, then we need to go deeper and we need to take off all the sediments that have been settled there. That's exactly what we do as a clinical hypnotherapist.
Okay, you just told me that, being a hypnotherapist, you talk to, when you talk to a person, you would not be able to help him. But when you reach his subconscious mind, that is when you will be able to help him. But, when we talk to each other, probably, two people are talking to each other. If that person wants to, hear him out, or that person wants to, listen to him, he would definitely listen to him, even if he talks to him, directly, just as a person without, doing hypnosis or reaching his subconscious mind. So how does that differ? When two people talk, if I would want to
Mhm.
listen to you, I would definitely listen to you. So why,
Mhm.
take that extra effort of reaching that subconscious mind? So why is that so? Because as an
Right,
adult, I would definitely, if I want to take it, I would take it up. Right.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. It's a good question. So why you need to go into your subconscious mind is because that your conscious mind is only 5% of who you are. 95% of who you are is your subconscious mind. So, if even if actually, like you said, we can interact, but then when we're interacting, nobody wants to be vulnerable in front of another person, isn't it? We
Yes.
will never
Right.
let ourselves be
Exactly.
vulnerable, and in no way. So, even to only to a certain extent, I'll be able to express. And one more thing is that why subconscious mind is because so you have programs that are actually running you, right? So you are running the subconscious mind is actually a set of programs. It's like a tape recorder, I can say, right? So if it is a tape recorder, so whatever you've already recorded, that's playing continuously over and over and over again, right? So those programs that you've accumulated is actually causing you a challenge right now. So as long as we don't go there and change that program, you're going to continue to actually think the same thoughts. Same thoughts will lead to same choices. Same choices will lead to same behavior. Same behavior will lead to same experience. Same experience will take you to the same emotions. Same emotions again will bring you back to same thoughts. So you're in a loop. So if you let this program keep playing like a computer which has a virus, unless you resolve the virus, unless you just reprogram with something new, you're going to keep there is no point of just trying to make the computer work, because it doesn't work because it has a virus. So we need to go deep inside to get the program off our mind, or subconscious mind. So your 5% mind, now that's exactly what I have to discuss. So the 5% of the mind is actually your analytical mind, right? It's your rational mind. It rationalizes everything, it analyzes everything. And that's what your 5% of your mind does. And the most important thing is that this 5% of the mind is a creative mind. So but the question is that in a day you're thinking 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. If you're thinking
Right.
60,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day, how many thoughts are you being conscious? So we're so unconscious. But the question is, where is all this unconscious thought pattern is happening from? It's not your conscious mind, because if I'm conscious, it means I'm mindful. If I'm mindful, I'm actually paying attention. I'm observing it. I'm present. So when I'm present, I'm being conscious, then which means that I don't even know what my last thought was, isn't it? So which means that's why Carl Jung, who is a famous psychologist, said, until you make your unconscious conscious, it will drive your life and you will call it fate. So the question is that it's all the unconscious programs which is running you 95% of your time. In a day, you don't even know what thoughts you're thinking because it's unconscious. So in that case, we need to first understand how unconscious are we being. But to understand that, you need to become conscious. So that's where the 5% of the mind comes into the picture. But how mindful are we every day, isn't
Right.
it? So,
So that's actually a
we
very good point that we are not vulnerable, in front of people. People are always scared of being judged. So we
absolutely. So the
definitely, need to get into that unconscious mind. We
correct. So it's
always
the
are scared
subconscious.
or feared of being judged. So that
Yes,
is
see,
there.
because that is actually the judgment. Where does the judgment come from? It comes from our ego construct. The ego construct's character is to judge, is to analyze, is to assess, is to predict. Right? It is to intellectualize something. It is to label something. It is to conceptualize something. That's what the ego mind does. Right? So as long as we remain in the ego mind, we are just going to continuously keep looking at things as we are. We don't see things as they are. Right? So if you continue to see the world, your environment the same way, you keep getting the same signal. If you keep getting the same signal, you keep continue to produce the same loop of thought and feeling. Right? So that's why it's really important that we need to go deeper into our subconscious mind, which is a very, very powerful
We have
mind.
a question here from Max Hamilton. I've heard that it only takes one session with a hypnotherapist. Is that true? So do you want to answer that?
Well, hi to you, Max. I hope you're doing great. So, see, it's not about the number of sessions. The most important thing here is that do I accept that which I'm not able to accept, because all the challenges are because the non-acceptance of what is. Right? So our job is, not to tell you, okay, we're going to take so many sessions. No, if see, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. The minute you know the truth, you are set free. It doesn't even need a session. When the awakening happens, for example, there is a great Zen master. His name is, Bunzai. So he actually was walking through, the market street, and while he was walking, he casually overheard a conversation that was happening between a butcher and his client. So the client asked the butcher, says that, give me the best meat. And the owner says that, what, all the parts that you see are all the best parts. There is not even one single part that's not the best part. And hearing this, the master got enlightened. What is even there in this conversation that actually that he got enlightened? So that when the truth comes to you, that it will just set you free. So it's not about a matter of time. See, again, we are so dependent on time, right? We're thinking, where does the healing happen? It happens in the future. When does the healing happen? Oh, it takes maybe, maybe next year, right? Let's just say I have a physical challenge, and I've been told by the doctors, oh, you know what, you're going to take 1 year, you have to consume this tablets, and by next year you will be actually healed. So I am actually giving the program to my mind, okay, next year I'm going to be healed. But the question is that the healing is actually present to you even right now, but are you able to see it? Right? And most importantly, that we are not, we are actually perceiving the future as either tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. That's what future is. But I tell you, future is next second. The future is next second. So the question is, what can have energy are you passing to the next moment?
Um, Kenneth, you there? The screen is actually frozen right now. All right. The screen of our guest is actually in the frozen zone right now. So probably there's some technical issue from his side. So, people, if you're able to see me, can you just comment if you're able to see me, if you're able to hear me? Because the guest from us, the screen from our guest end is actually frozen right now. So, I hope to hear from him very soon. So we are all right. So we get a yes here. Okay. So hopefully our guest should be joining us very soon. There has been some technical issues from the beginning. Yeah. Yes, Max, you can hear me, but not him because he is not in the session right now. Probably he will join us very soon because there has been some technical issues since the beginning of the session. So he should be joining us anytime now. So we would just wait. Yeah, so he's come now.
Hello, Shri.
All right, welcome back.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I think it's
No, that's
just the
okay. That's
network which
okay.
is just playing out. So I was just saying that,
Yep.
we live in time-space consciousness. Space-time consciousness, where that we believe, everything that we are seeking is actually in the future. That it's time bound, right? But the future is actually next moment, because life happens moment to moment basis. But the question is that what energy are you just passing on to the next moment, right? What kind of energy are you passing? Are you passing the energy of frustration, anger, jealousy, envy, pain, suffering? Are you passing like higher vibrational frequency, like happiness, joy, love, peace, harmony? Because it's really important. I'll tell you why. Because you know if you have a destination, like just say that healing is your goal, then it does not happen just like in a matter of time. It's not that, but then it's like a race of baton. Like every moment, a moment is passing the baton to the next moment, and the next moment will pass on to the next. So that's how it's getting passed. And what is getting passed is actually the energy. So the question is, what kind of energy are you passing to the next moment? Because it's not in the future; it's there right now. Who am I being right now is what actually. So that's what Eckhart Tolle said. What you perceive as future is intrinsically connected to the state of consciousness in the here and now. So what is my state of consciousness in the here and now, right? So I think it's not about, session. It can happen in a fraction of second, and you could just, the divine truth can just occur to you, and then you will just awake from the slumber that we all are, isn't it? Because we all are in the social consciousness, that we all are in this deep slumber. And whenever challenge comes, the challenge comes because we are awakening from that slumber. And when that awakening happens, the challenge is there. And through the challenge, and that's when you take a journey, right? And the journey, you and the destination are all the one and same. But then when you actually take the journey is when you start to understand, yourself. And it'll just, give you an understanding of who you are.
Right. So based on this question, I actually wanted to ask you something. Max had asked you that, if one session is enough or do we require more sessions like. So,
Mhm.
based on one, you said it could even take, a minute or a second or even, so how long actually, what if, even after umpteen number of sessions, the person is not able to, get out of, the issue that he's dealing with? Then what happens? What does a hypnotherapist do?
Yeah. So, see, the thing is, officially, as a hypnotherapist, right, we have certain number of sessions that we do. Like, for example, the first session, what we do is called CBT, which is called cognitive behavior therapy, where we interact with the client to understand what their challenges in the here and now. And we arrive, with an affirmation, which is actually the rewiring, or your the affirmation. What it does is you're unlearning, and then you're relearning something. So in the current generation, an illiterate is not somebody who cannot read and write, but an illiterate is somebody who cannot unlearn something, and it cannot relearn something, and that's who is an illiterate. Like a snake who cannot peel its own skin dies. So a human who cannot, shed his old self for his new self to be born, right? He dies. He ends up dying in that old self. So now the first session, like I said, is CBT. The second session, what we do is called aura scan, right? And then, then in the third session is actually, so in aura scan, what we do is that, so whatever kind of thoughts you think, according to Louise Hay, she says that your body is a reflection of your mind. So whatever kind of thoughts you're thinking, every thought is energy. And if thought is energy, each energy carries a frequency, and each frequency carries an information. So every time you think a thought, there is an information that is contained within every thought, right? But then the minute you think a thought, this thought, which actually is energy, which can't be seen, which can't be touched, which is not something tangible. But the minute you think it, what you're doing is you're actually, imagine the thought to be a container, and you're pouring out your energy, whatever the energy is, maybe it's negative or positive, whatever, right? You're pouring out in the thought, and the thought travels down your brainstem and reaches your body. Now, your body has its own innate intelligence. Now, the body has to respond to the signal that the brain has sent. So now, if the thought is of love, so the body will release, respective hormone, like respective chemical, which is called oxytocin. The oxytocin is love hormone. So it's going to release it. Whereas if it's anger, if it's stress, then it's going to go to your adrenaline, adrenaline gland, and it's going to produce stress hormones like adrenaline and cytokines, and all this kind of hormones of stress are being produced, right? So, so yes, so this is what is happening. So in aura scan, what we do is that we just go deep down and we will see the kind of residues that you have left in each and every part of your body, because each and every part of your body has its own innate intelligence, has its own consciousness. Every organ in your body has its own, consciousness. So now we have to go there and see what have you done, right? So, for example, people with cancer. So, what is cancer? The cancer cells. So the thing is that now any disease, right? Any disease that if a disease has to show up, now everything starts at the energy level. For instance, like I said, you had a thought of anger. right? You continue to think that anger, stress, all this lower negative energy thoughts. What is happening is that the energy is actually, irritating the cells inside, right? You're just causing the irritation. So now what was energy now becomes a matter, because now it is, the energy has become matter in as a chemical in your body, right? Which didn't exist, now exists in your body. You created it. You are the creator. Let's not forget that. So you created it. Now what is happening is, which is, an atom is made of subatomic particles, right? So the subatomic particle is nothing but energy. So this energy then now starts to irritate. Now what is happening is that this energy then becomes, from subatomic it becomes an atomic. In your atomic level it starts to show up, right? From your atomic level, then it starts to show up on your molecular level. See, now I'm telling you how the disease is actually, showing up on your body, right? So it reflects, there's a chaos in your molecular level. From chaos in your molecular level, then it shifts to your chaos in the cellular level. The cells are being affected because of what you're thinking and you're feeling continuously, persistently. And from your cellular level, then finally it appears on the tissue level. Now, the minute you see it on the tissue level, now it is visible to the naked eye. Now you're panicking. Oh, I'm having this. I just have to go and check the doctor. The problem is that is the outcry of your body. It is just crying out to pay attention to what you've been doing all this while, right? So we, using aura scan, we go deep down, focus on each and every part of your body, every fiber of your body, and we release all this toxicity that you have stored as a trapped emotions, right? All these are stored, so we remove that. That's what aura scan we do. Then in the next session,
Okay,
what we do is
this
the,
and
yes, yes,
yeah, yeah,
go
no,
on,
please
Jay.
go ahead.
So the
No,
next
no.
session is where actually, so the next session is where the interactive conversation is. So what we do is that we take the client deep into their, using the modality of hypnosis, we take them deeper, and now we will actually access their subconscious mind where all the challenges are seated there. Right. So now we will actually go deep into their subconscious mind and we start to access each and every memory that they're holding, right? And our job, we are not actually doing, we are not going to do anything. See, we don't, as a hypnotherapist, our job is only to navigate them, to look within themselves, because
Right.
Rumi said that, why do you think so small of yourself when you are the universe in expression? Why are you so enchanted by this world when you have a heap of gold within you? So you have everything within you. Everything that you're seeking is within you. But then that which is seeking you actually has to be found only when you start vibrating in the same frequency as that which is seeking you. Right? For example, if I am seeking healing, then I need to actually vibrate in my energy level equal to the mind of the of the healing, with the consciousness of the healing. Only when that happens. So how does that happen? In Bible, there's a scripture which says that call those things that are not as though they were, so the unseen becomes seen. So call those things that are not as though they were, which means that right now the healing is not seen, not felt, but call those things that are not as though they were. So right now you're inviting. So which means that in the present moment you're living the future state consciousness in the here and now. I'm experiencing the healing right now. I'm saying I'm healed right now. And I'm experiencing it. And whatever I'm experiencing, I'm bringing those elevated emotions of joy, of that ecstasy, of that liberation of that energy in the present moment, right? So that's when we are starting to change our whole program, right? So during this, third, fourth, and fifth, sessions, what we do is that we create something called a neuro pathway. So what is a neuro pathway? Is that you would have, had an incident that happened to you when you were young, and you're still holding on to that. The emotion is so strong. So what is a memory? That when there is an emotion that is so high, the brain takes a screenshot of that and it stores it. So
Right.
every minute when you think of that, immediately you just bring in those feelings in your body. For example, if you experienced, for example, people who experience trauma or abuse, right? The minute they think
Right.
of it, their body starts shivering, they're having all the chills in their body.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Because the minute you think the thought, feeling is being released, right? So you're thinking and feeling. So right now, what we are going to do is that the neural pathway is that you are looking at the incident or an experience from the same level of mind that you were when you were so young, or maybe it happened to you 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever the time is, right? But right now, but the question is, you're not the same person as you were when you experienced that event, right? Now you are no more the same person. So now you have that maturity. Now you have the strength and the power to overcome that. You still don't have to be that victim, right? So we create a neural pathway so that they can actually come out of that. So we will give them a different perspective for them to see, right? So that's what happens during these interactive conversations, and then we help them find a closure to whatever the challenge is. But then, see, it has nothing to do with us. It's nothing to do with, that's where, the hypnotherapist shouldn't believe that, oh, I am doing it. That's wrong. I am not doing anything. My job is to navigate like a GPS, right? I'm just navigating within the chambers of your own inner self. You are going to go within, you're going to find answers for your own self. And when you come out, you will realize that. That's exactly what we do. I hope I
Yes.
answered your question that you asked.
Talking about perception now, you said, you give a different perspective, to the person who comes to you to see things from a different angle. So, will changing a perspective, change that person himself? Because that person is that person, whether he becomes rich,
Mm,
poor,
mm,
healthy, weak, whatever is this, state of position. Will changing the
mm.
perspective change who that person is basically? Whether he's a
See,
literate, illiterate, doesn't matter at all. Will changing a perspective change that person?
absolutely, isn't it not? Because that as long as, see, now the thing is, what is the function of the brain? The function of the brain is to perceive, right? But the thing is that it perceives only as how I am. Whatever is my belief system is, I will perceive it accordingly, right? Now, the thing is that personality is how you think, how you act, and how you feel, right? So how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and how I'm acting is actually creating my personality, and my personality creates my personal reality. So if I don't like there is an author called Neville Goddard. He says that if you do not, when you look into the mirror, if you do not like what you see, don't change the mirror, change yourself. When you look into the world, if you don't like what you see, don't change the world, change yourself. So when you look into the world and you say, what, the world is treating me like this, this person is doing this to me, and that's why I'm just feeling like this. This is why. So now it's this perception that is actually, which is actually you're getting fixated to that thought and to the feeling. But the minute I actually come out of that perception, if I start to see it in a very broader perspective, so what happens then? Then I see everything in a new light. It is like as if my eyes are open to see everything for the first time, isn't it? So the change of perception definitely changes, you know, our life.
What if it is, like a personal, a negative that has happened, say probably an abuse that you were just talking about, probably a person was abused as a child or something, but that person went on to become a successful, entrepreneur or successful person in his or her life. But then
Hmm.
later on, whenever this, topic comes up, whenever he or she thinks about it, definitely that, whatever the success or whatever the positivity that he or she's got, it all vanishes. He or she just goes back to that, same zone. So, why does that happen? That person has actually come up in life, everything has happened good for him or her, but then why does that person go back to immediately when that topic or when that thought comes into his or her mind?
See, the thing is, it does not matter if you're successful, if you're not successful. See, that is to do with the outside of what you're achieving. See, there's a wheel of life where we have different facets, to our own life. Like we have work life, we have love life, You have to do with your health. You have to do with your goal. There are different perspectives that we have as an individual, right? It's not just only one. So a person could be so successful, and it could be doing very well for himself, but then the thing is that what you experienced, right? That doesn't change, whatever you are to the society. That doesn't change. Even if you are, a
Exactly.
great authority figure or a celebrity, that doesn't change what you experience and what you're holding, in your deep subconscious mind. And but you should never forget this, that you can see several branches in a tree, but then the branches are actually each has a different experience, and then you come to the trunk of the tree, and then you go to the root of the tree, and then you finally go to the seed which actually germinated this, right? So now the thing is that whatever has happened, that pattern will definitely reflect in each area of your life, whatever you're holding, right?
True.
Unless you just go back, not in the branch level, not at the trunk level, not on the root level. You need to go deep into that seed, and you need to uproot the seed. Until or unless you do that, it's still actually running your life because it's so unconscious. For example, that like you said, for instance, we spoke about abuse. That either a guy or a girl, it does not matter because abuse happens for both of them. So they could be just doing so well, but the minute there is something that triggers them of what happened, that they're lonely, it is dark, and this is how things happen. The minute that happens, they're just going back being that maybe 5 year
Yes.
old or 6 year old, right? Because
Yes.
it does not matter, even if you have, the whole world next to you, but then what you're experiencing is deep within you. Unless you resolve
Right.
it, right? Until or unless you resolve it, it doesn't change. So that's why it's really important that, that because, we just take these things so lightly. But then what we don't understand is actually it's actually taking a toll of our inner self, and also it starts to reflect as within, so without. So it all actually starts to reflect in your body. So yes, I hope I answered your question.
The reason actually I asked you this question is because I know somebody who's been abused as a child, and now
Hmm.
actually she's very successful. But then
Hmm.
that one portion, is not, she's not able to forget, or she's not able to get out of that zone. Though
Hmm.
she comes up as a very confident, woman, but then that is one thing that is not healed at all. So I thought, what would be your perspective in this issue? So that is why I had to ask
Yeah,
you
see
this.
that's what I said. First of all, it's about acceptance, right? Like in the sense when I say acceptance is that first of all I accept that I need help, right? Because most of us, first of all, these are not things, which could actually be spoken in the first place, because
Yes,
the society is such
especially in
that
our society, it's a taboo.
correct.
We
So
don't
first of
speak.
all, you don't have a space where you can actually openly communicate. And now you're just, what you're doing is you're regressing, right? You're regressing and you're suppressing
Right.
everything, you're holding everything inside of you, and you don't want anybody to know. But deep within, you're just going through the same, experience over and over. See, the thing is that we experience, for instance, I experienced, let's say I experienced trauma or abuse once. I experienced it once, but the problem is that every time I think about it, I'm reliving the same moment over and over and over again. So, which means every time I think about it,
Yes.
I'm re-experiencing the same event. Which means if it happened to me maybe at the age
Yes.
of 6, let's say my age is 26, so the 20 years, I've been reliving the same moment over and over again in my own chambers of my own mind. You understand what I'm
Right.
trying to tell you? So until or
Yes.
unless that I just take a bold step, yes, I need help. I cannot let my inner child suffer because of this, right? And the thing is that you are no more the same 5 year old or 6 year old girl, right? Now you're
Right.
26-year-old girl. So now you have the strength to take a step forward and to find closure to it, right? So that it doesn't influence in all the areas of life. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Because when abuse
Right.
happens, right? Because these days equally both guys or as well as girls are being abused, right?
Yes.
So when they grow up, it affects their relationships, that they do not have
Yes.
trust in a relationship, right? And they are so insecure. They have so much of fear, right? So do you understand
Yes.
how it's actually looming at the other areas of our life, because we are not able to, we are not able to uproot that. So like I said, you can be successful, you can be anybody, but that's for the outside world that you're successful. No, but who am I inside? Who am I inside? Only I know. I am an inner child. Still, I am a child, right? And whose duty it is to take care of my child? It's mine. I can't keep giving those threatening moments to my inner child. I can't let her go through this pain, this suffering, this abuse over and over again, and she's just crying out. So I need to take that step to nourish my inner child, to give her love, to give her that compassion, to forgive, right? Because that is the most important step that you need to go within, and that's when things starts to change.
All right. When you say that we would have to, take care of ourselves, the emotions like, the anger, happiness, love, any or frustration, all these aren't they very natural? Any human being will have all these, emotions. So how does one control these emotions as to, only this much or this is the kind of quantity that you will have to let out or, keep it to yourself? How does one measure all that? If you love somebody, you just give it, explicitly. If you are frustrated or if you are, angry, you just let it out. So how does one control that, unless and until one is a psychiatrist or a hypnotherapist?
No,
How does that
no,
happen?
see, the thing is that, the problem is that when you think of controlling is when you're making it worse. There's no reason to control. I never said that. See, these are the natural, reactions of a human being. I never said you should not get angry. You should not. It's not that. My question is that of course, you should react. But my question is, how long are you reacting? What is your
Okay.
refractory period? What is your refractory period? That I understand the road, when you're just driving, suddenly one passes by, I'm like, oh yeah, you're just saying whatever you want, and right, and you just let it go there, right? And you're not, and then again you start driving. But what if you just read them and then you're like, oh, how can you do this? So now you didn't stop. Like, for instance, you need to understand that if, let's just say that you ask a person, why are you so sad? And the person said, oh, you know what, I'm not in a mood today. This happened to me yesterday. Said, okay, you're not in a mood. All right, okay. So you come back after a week, and then the person is still sad. Like, what happened now? Like, oh, you know what? That happened to me a week ago. Now what has happened? Now it's actually become a temperament, right? So now
Okay.
after a month you come and then you'll be like, what happened to you now? Are you still not over it? Like, no, I just feel so terrible. This happened to me. How could he do this? How could she do this to me? I just feel so hurt. I feel so disappointed. And then so now what has happened is, so what started as a mood, what then became a temperament has now become your personality. So what becomes your
Yes.
personality is how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So now what is happening is that once you start thinking, now the thinking doesn't stop with one thought. In a day, like I said, you're thinking 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts. So how many thoughts of anger are you thinking? Now, another thing is that, see, the thing is it's all right to be angry, but also Buddha said, getting angry is like drinking poison, but expecting somebody else to die, right? So if you love yourself, if you love yourself, will you consume that poison for a prolonged period of time, right? Like for how long? So, but what you don't understand is because it's so easy, it's so all right for us to hold that anger. What you don't understand is that the anger, the resentment that you hold within is actually affecting your body, because the anger is an emotion again. The emotion is energy in motion, right? So it's energy again. So the energy you're holding inside you. So when you say, that's why, when you say, my stomach is just burning, how could you just do that? Like you understand the term, like,
Yes.
oh, I can smell this, it's burning. Why? So The thing, why stomach? Because the stomach is a producer of serotonin, which is a feel good hormone. If you're not happy, immediately it reflects on your stomach. And when you're so happy, hey, there's butterfly in my stomach. Why do you see butterfly in my stomach? Because the serotonin is being produced in excess. You're like, wow, I just feel so good. Right? That's why it's butterfly in the stomach. And then you say, oh, you know what? My heart just feels so good. Why? Oxytocin. So much of love. I'm releasing so much love. Wow. This is the fountain of youth. This is in the heart region. This is called, according to the chakras, this is called anahata. Anahata is a heart chakra, where this center is where you know is actually the fountain of youth, where you have your thymus gland, the gland which produces immunoglobulin A, which is actually the immune shot that your body produces, right? So each thought you think carries an energy, and that energy you're leaving it in your body. And imagine 60,000, 70,000 thoughts. You're so unconscious, you're so angry at somebody every day. You're like, oh, how could you do that, how could you do? And you're holding on, and your body is just burning, right? But then you're just not conscious about all this. Why? Because you can't see it. Let me tell you this, the science says that an atom is 99.13 times 9% energy and 0.13 times 0.01% matter, which means this body is actually holding together right now because the atoms are holding me together. The atoms that are holding me together, 99.99%, they are more energy, which means when you're looking at me, you're looking at the point 0.00013 times 0.01% of who I am. And that 0.001% has been named here. Who is actually working there? He's a hypnotherapist. He wants us to live better. But then you have not even connected with the 99.99% of who I am, because that's my energy. That when you know, for instance, when you in the jungle, the deer actually looks at the tiger, doesn't think for a moment, oh, maybe he could be my friend today. Why should he kill me? No. The minute the deer looks at the tiger, it knows it's going to kill. How does the deer know? It's the energy. We humans carry. That's why you say, you know what? I just don't
So,
feel like going next to that person. Why? It's the energy you're emitting. It's the kind of thoughts you're thinking, the kind of feelings you're feeling is actually reflecting on your. And so this is actually, we have different body. So this is a physical body, and in one arm stretch you have etheric body, which is the energy body, and then you have you have mental body. So like that, there are different bodies around us. That's what we call it as aura, right? And that's why when you see a person, sometimes you feel, oh, I just feel like going next to him, I just feel so happy. But sometimes you feel, oh no, I just feel like staying. Why? What is that?
yes.
What is that intelligence telling you within you? Like, no. So that's energy, isn't it? So yes,
We just
so that's
call
what
it
I.
that we sense it, when we want to go next to a person or we don't want to talk to a person, we just say that we sense it. Something
We
like we
sense
just
it.
sense it. We just don't want to talk. We don't
Exactly,
want to
because
talk.
yes, because we all have a divine intelligence within us. For instance, right now, as you're talking to me, your heart is actually beating 60 times per minute, right? It is producing 2 gallons of blood. Your lungs are inhaling and exhaling. Your digestive system is cutting down all that you ate in the evening from morning, whatever you ate. It's cutting to carbs, to fibers, to whatever we eat. And then your lining of the
Am I
gut is
being
getting.
scanned right now?
No, this is just the basic thing that happens inside every one of us, that we are not conscious of all these things. That I'm trying to tell you that all these are happening without a conscious control, without a conscious command to our body. So there is a divine intelligence that is running our body, which is sustaining this body, which is upholding this life that contains that is there within us, right? But then we are so we are not really even aware of all these things, and we take it for granted. Like Earl Nightingale said, familiarity breeds contempt. That because this body is working, we don't really give it, we never say thanks. You never wake up and say, oh, thank you, heart, I love you so much, thank you for what you're doing to me. If
Right,
you're not there, I
right.
wouldn't be alive today. Thank you so much, liver, I really love you. If you're not there to metabolize what I eat, you know I won't be there.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, digestive system. Thank you for giving me this greatest gift of digesting everything that I eat. That I thank
Nobody does that.
my throat. Why? Because we just take it for granted, isn't it? We
Yes.
don't really thank ourselves. We're just dying. 10 million cells are dying and they're reborn every day. But we don't really pay attention to all that. Why? Because it's not seen, isn't it? So how much unconscious are we, isn't it? So that's what that's I think these are the things, the moment you awaken, and that's how you start to observe all this around you, and you start to be, and that's where they say that count your blessing, you know and when you start counting your blessing, you realize how blessed you are, that you're alive today.
True.
That's why
Very true.
that's
Very
why
true.
the Bible says that before you enter the temple, right? That's what the Bible says. It also says that do not let the sun go down with do not let the sun go down with anger. It says that do not carry it forward, right? Let it go. Whatever anger is, let it go. Forgive, right?
So
Yes.
when you say you have to let go your, anger, so say
Mm-hmm.
if the person is angry, all
Mm-hmm.
right, for something on, somebody, the person is angry. So how does one let go of that anger without a closure? So, how is that possible that you don't get a closure and you just let go of your anger? How's that possible? Isn't that
See,
natural again?
the thing is that there are two types of acceptance. One acceptance is that you're thinking, oh, you know what, there's no choice. There's no choice for me. I just have to live with it. That is one sort of acceptance. Second sort of acceptance is that you're coming from the space of love, coming from the space of understanding, coming from the space of compassion, and you're seeing it from that space. The latter one actually is where you find a closure, because you say that it's not worth holding on to it. There's much better emotions I could just be mindful of, rather than holding on to this anger, that I could be forgiving, right? But then the first one, you will say, oh, you know what, I just let it go, I don't really care. But then deep down it is playing you, right? It's always there deep down. It's like uh, a fire that is just there. It's burning always. The minute you add one wood to it, it just becomes more, right? It's like it's getting very toxic. So the thing is that it's all right to be angry, but ask yourself, how long would you like to be angry? Is it all right that when you're being angry, it's not that somebody is getting affected because of your anger? It's you who's actually getting affected by your own anger. It's you who's
Yes,
actually
exactly.
carrying all the toxicity inside of you. Ask yourself, is it all right for me to carry it? If I really love myself, would I do that to myself? Isn't it? And I just saw the question: how can you stop
Very
negativity
true.
from people in, stop the negativity from the people in your life affecting
How
you?
can I, how can you stop negativity from the people in your life affecting you? That's the question.
Now, your job, like I said, when you look into the mirror, if you don't like what you see in the mirror, don't change the mirror. That's the problem. When you try to go and change the environment, that's when you will feel disappointed. Oh, that guy is not doing this, or this person is, at times it's your own family. That's why Ram Das, he said in the book, Be Here Now, he said that in terms of, okay, what I wanted to say, because I was just thinking something else. So, when you are uh, okay, maybe I'll come to that when I remember, but I just skipped it. I just skipped from my mind. But what I want to tell you is that when you just go and try to change something that's outside of you, right? That's not your job. Now, for instance, if you see somebody who fell in a pit and who's just calling out for help, would you jump inside the pit and push them up, or would you just stay on top and give them a hand and pull them up? What would you do? You would just give them a hand and bring them up. You wouldn't jump inside. So they are negative. That's their karmic neurotic pattern to handle. That's not your job, right? So you need to vibrate higher. That's the only way. You need to be in the space of love. be more positive, so that you're so positive, you're so full of that ball of energy, that this small negativity cannot penetrate your ball. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So that is the way that to deal with them. And the most important thing is that to give them love. you know See, when you what irritates or provokes you in other is also inside of you. That's what Eckhart Tolle said. So which means that when I see that person is getting angry at me, and then I'm getting, it's actually my anger which is just reflecting through a medium, that person. It's actually my jealousy which is just ex- see, you need to understand that when William Shakespeare, when he said that all the world is stage, we are all players and actors and actresses, that is actually you in your mind there is a theater. You're in the theater of your mind, you're performing there, but you're performing a role. You should never forget that you're performing a role, and you've invited certain people in your life, and they're also performing their role. Now the
Yes.
problem is, you should only take the message, you should not hold on to the messenger. But the problem is, we never receive the message because we are never actually paying attention, we are never observing anything, right? So we're so angry at that person. We're so angry at the person. How could he do this to me? But then no, that he came there in your life because he brought a message to you. His job is to deliver a message. The minute you get the message, the messenger will leave, right? So it's you who invited them to come and play a part in your life. I mean, you asked them to come and play a role in the theater of your own mind, and they are playing their role. And when their job is done, they'll flee. So what's the point of holding on to them? Rather hold on to the lesson. And the lesson will teach you. Then you grow, right? Yes.
I wanted to ask you, can you hypnotize yourself? Is that possible? A
Of course,
hypnotherapist, can he hypnotize himself?
there's something called
You
self
can?
hypno. Yeah, yeah. So the thing is, again, the hypnotism is actually not like as you said, it's a word that actually being really you know really being shown in a wrong light in terms of media I'm talking about. But
Yeah,
then
that's what I was coming to.
yeah. So the thing is that what does hypnotism do, right? So what is it doing to me is that when I'm self-hypnotizing, I'm actually going to the deeper states of my consciousness, right? So what does meditation do? What is meditation? Meditation in Tibetan means to become familiar with. In Sanskrit means to know yourself. So when I'm meditating, the word yoga means union, right? So when I'm meditating, what I'm doing is from this analytical mind, right? I'm actually taking my mind to the deeper states of consciousness, which is to my deep theta brainwave consciousness, because that's where my subconscious mind is. So I'm taking myself to the deeper state. I'm not, see, why am I doing this is because that when people sit for meditation, they're having thousands of thoughts come by, right? So that's why they call it as a monkey mind, because the monkey keeps jumping from one tree to another. But the question is that, is your mind is monkey, or there is an awareness that is following the monkey which is jumping from one tree to another? Let the problem is that we try to control thoughts. Our job is not to control thoughts when you're doing meditation. That's where you end up getting frustrated. Like, it's like you're expecting the sea not to have waves. The sea, the waves are actually the very expression of the sea. The thoughts are the very expression of your mind. But your job is not to identify with the thought. So the minute you close your eyes, you're thinking, oh, what do I do afternoon? Oh, I'm supposed to go there. Oh, yeah, I'm thinking about, doing
Right.
this. Oh, yeah, that person will meet me. Oh, he will say this to me. If he says this, then I'll say that to him. Then he's not. So do you understand the mental conversation that you're having? Why did it happen? Because you're identifying with the thought. But don't be the monkey. Be the awareness behind the monkey. Let
Even
the
when we
thoughts be
pray,
out.
we do that actually, not just meditation. Even when we pray, we are not, completely praying. We are thinking about
Mhm.
something else.
Yeah, see,
That
the thing is
actually
again,
happens with me.
well, what is
When
prayer
I pray,
again?
I keep thinking of thousand different things. So
Right,
that
exactly.
actually
See, because
happens.
and the thing is that the best part about prayer is that you know if we just in the name of prayer we just go say whatever we want. And imagine what we
Yes.
want is actually again to do with our ego construct that I want this God, I want this God, I want this God, and make this happen for me. I thank you. Okay, I love you. But then now the problem is you only spoke. A communication is always two ways. Did you ever
Right.
wait to listen to what the divine has to say? And the divine resides within you. This is a channel where the divine resides, isn't it? That's why the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all else shall follow. So what is it? See, all the scriptures are so esoteric. They're just, teaching us there is something. Why is that? When Jesus spoke, he spoke everything in parables, right? So the parable, the word it comes from is parabola. The word parabola means, a hidden meaning. That's what it means. So whenever Jesus spoke in parables, there's an inner meaning. So all the scripture contains within an esoteric meaning. So seek ye first the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is within you, right? And seek ye first here. And when you seek there first, so that's when when you pray and when you're connected to the deep divine, then you won't ask anything. Because you're no more in the analytical mind to think, God, give me this, God today. No, it's not your analytical mind you're interacting with. You are with the deep divine mind. You're connected to the divine within you. Now you're no more asking, but you're receiving. Asketh, receiveth. But then now you are in the receiving mode. You're receiving that, right? You're receiving that love. You're receiving that compassion. What are you doing is you're manifesting it, isn't it? And that's exactly what happens when we observe, when we go deep within, when we are meditating. So when, as I said, actually I have been meditating for the last 3 years because I follow Kriya Yoga, uh, which I actually learned in the lockdown time. But before that, also I was actually meditating, but I all started with self hypnosis. That I actually started accessing my inner self, my divine self through that process, that modality. Yes.
That's actually wonderful to know. So let's lighten up the mood a little bit. Let's talk about Kenneth, the model. That
Mm.
I see a lot of pictures on your uh, Insta handle or the Facebook. There's been a lot of pictures about Kenneth, the model. So let's talk about that. How did that transition happen? How did a hypnotherapist become a model?
No, actually, the thing is that I've been modeling for the last close to 12, 13 years now. So
Okay.
it's been a journey, and there have been a lot of people who inspired me to be in this journey. And it's, to be very honest, it's purely God's grace that I've been there all these years in the industry, and still God has been very kind to provide work. So the thing is that there have been a lot of people who actually been really instrumental to teach me a lot of things, to actually help me get work and stuff like that. So, like I said, we have different wheel of life. There are different spokes to one circle of wheels, right? And that one spoke is actually, being a model. And I just believe that, when you have, if God has given you a gift, that, if you have the personality to actually, to use it for a purpose, so why not do that? So that's the point that I think I still continue to do modeling. Otherwise, model. I mean, my life as a model actually has taught me so much, because to be very honest, even I used to be a very introvert. I used to be a lot, very like I mean, I didn't really have that great own opinion about my own self. in the initial stage. So I just wanted to break that, you know. So to break that, you know, you need to do something, right? And the journey just, you know, then led me to modeling and yeah. So it's been all these years. So it's actually not the model, the hypnotherapist who became model. It's actually the model who just, you know, transitioned, you know, to actually to another area of life. You know, that's what it is. But that way, yeah. I mean, when I look back, it's actually it's been a wonderful experience, and even now it's just, you know, it really excites me. It's like, you know, you need to give a lot of activity to your inner child. You know, you really need to, you know, keep that, you know, like how you give toys to your child, right? And it just plays with it like that. You know, you just need to keep, you know, keep that inner kid active. So I think one such thing is modeling, which, you know, it just keeps me who I am.
So,
Yeah.
which journey has been very satisfying and enriching? Being a model or being a doctor? Which one has been very satisfying?
So the word satisfaction, the word satis, it comes from a Latin word and it's called enough, enough action. That's what satisfaction means. So you know, it's not that, you know, which area of life gives you satisfaction. No, every dot connects you to the bigger picture.
By satisfaction, I mean you enjoy more. Doing it more.
Well,
So that's what I mean.
I, you know, when you are coming from the space of love, compassion, and understanding, when I'm washing my vessels, I love what I'm doing. When I'm cleaning my house, I love what I'm doing. When I'm eating, I love what I'm doing. You know, whatever I'm doing, I just enjoy doing it because, you know, it's that you're doing it. See, the thing is that when you're doing it mechanically, then you just lose the joy of doing that. But then when you're just coming from that, when there's the inner joy, there's just, you know, expressed as an action, and you just enjoy everything. So that way, to me, whatever I have been in all these you know, years of my life, I enjoyed everything. The days that I suffered, the days that I've gone through pain, the days I've actually enjoyed so much. Each day actually is a dot connecting to the next day. If that day was not there, you know, the next day wouldn't have been better. If like it's like if you do not know what it is to live in darkness, you do not appreciate light, isn't it? So that way, I think each dot connects to another dot, and I enjoy my life as a whole. And every second of it is actually a blessing. Every second of it is a grace offered to you. So that way, I think, you know, for me, I just enjoy everything that I'm doing. But if you ask me what is, if you still, you know, ask me a question, I would say clinical hypnotherapist. The reason is because that, you know, at a point in your life that, you know, you are doing work, you're doing all this, but then at a point you will ask yourself, who am I? Right? Who am I? What am I here for? I'm here for something, isn't it? We all are here for something. Then, so job is what you're paid to do, work is what you are born to do. So your job, that's why you don't fulfill, you know, you don't feel really satisfied with your job because, you know, you want that weekend. That's why the weekend for people is actually so, you know, it's like a refreshment for them. But then when
Mhm.
you are, you know, when you are imbibed, ingrained with the purpose of your soul, then you just enjoy it so much. So, you know, at one point of my life, there came an awakening. Sorry? Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're able to hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was just saying that I'm so
Everything okay?
sorry. Yeah. No, I'm just
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
a
that's
call,
okay.
so it just because of that it got interrupted. So yeah. So you know, at a point, you know, they will come an awakening, and so you know, you'll just awaken from that slumber, right? Like Rumi said, this place is a dream. Only dreamer considers it real. when death comes as dawn, you wake up laughing. What was your grief? What you thought was your grief? So you will just wake up from that, and then you ask, "What is my purpose?" And I still remember that I used to be like a fish out of water because always I was trying to understand what is my purpose. What have I come here for? What have I come here for? I've been come here to come work in a regular day job. No, but there is something that I have to do. I need to understand what is my gift, what is my skill. So all this search led me to become a hypnotherapist. The purpose that I actually became is because that I just got an answer one day when I was in deep meditation that my purpose is to actually touch people's life, to awaken them, that whatever inner joy that I feel, I know that they carry the inner joy within them. There is an ocean, divine ocean within them, that all that they're seeking is actually within them, but we're just seeking it outside, isn't it? So so that's where I just thought, okay, what, my purpose is to touch people's life. How wonderful it would be to give somebody the happiness, to actually help them find who they are. That's the greatest gift. You know, we can do charity like karma yoga that the Bhagavad Gita talks about. That what is karma yoga is a consecrated action. That you do not do not count yourself that you are the one who's actually. So that's what Buddha said. If you think you are the doer, then you are in the chain of life and death. You're caught in the chain of life and death. So there is no doer. If there is no doer, the doer is not doing anything. So that's consecrated action. So I believe that if you could just, touch somebody's life, and if you could just, waken them from their slumber, and imagine they will just realize who they are. If you see all the great mystics, all the great yogis, they wrote a book, Who Am I? Be it Ramana Maharishi or be it, all the great saints, they wrote Who Am I? Because the Who Am I carries the answer to all that we are seeking. Know thyself. That's what Socrates said. That's what every scripture says. So what is there? There is a divine truth which is actually encased in that. So we need to. So then I thought to myself, I said, this is my journey. My journey is actually to touch lives. So, but then to touch lives, you need an instrument. You need to be an instrument. And that's when clinical hypnotherapy came into picture. And from the day that I started my journey, it has been onward, upward, and godward. And it has been God's grace that there have been several people who actually came as a client, and they found their own truth. I didn't do anything. It's just that they found their own truth, and they found who they are. They found the inner riches that they carry within themselves, that they no more have to be in the poverty stricken consciousness, that they are super rich, rich in love, rich in health, rich in wealth, rich in prosperity, right? Rich in everything that, so everything is pointing. See, all the truths are pointing only to the divine truth that's within you, right? And all the
Are you
saints, all the
spiritual
mystics,
in
all the,
nature? Like, are you very
uh,
spiritual in
of
nature?
course, because my when I see, my journey is actually spiritual consciousness, right? It's actually, it's heading towards the greatest expression of who you are. It's towards the divine consciousness. You call it Buddha consciousness or Christ consciousness or Krishna consciousness. You call it any consciousness, but by the end of the day, it is all one and the same, right? So it is my journey that I'm just you know like if you notice water, right? Uh, they're so altruistic in their nature that wherever they flow, they just nourish all the life that it meets, right? It's not because the life it meets is asking it to nourish. No, it's the nature of the water to nourish and flourish all the life that it meets. And such is our nature too, that wherever we flow, whomever we encounter, just sow a seed of greatness in them. And you go on your way. It's not your job to, it's not our job to see if the seed is germinating, see if the seed is becoming a tree. No, that's not our job. Like, our job is only to sow the seed. It's actually the universe will take care of the rest of the things. So my job, is actually as a hypnotherapist to sow a seed, and rest everything, because this is the soil, right? That's why, in Bible it says that, uh, you know, a sower is actually, if you leave the seed on the thorny ground, or if you leave the seed on the rocky substance, or you leave it on, wayside, or are you leaving it in your good ground? So this is a good ground. You leave it there, and it will flourish after. So I think that's what I believe is what I really it's really, it makes you feel so fulfilling. You feel so content that of course, when I do a shoot, when I go back home, when I just lie down, I feel, wow, it's a wonderful day, you know. But then I think it's
Somebody
even
here
more
actually is
enriching, it's even
amazed
more.
that you are a model. Probably after hearing to a hypnotherapist speak, he is actually amazed that you are a model too.
No,
Because
see, the thing
that's a
is that,
very
like I said,
rare
yeah.
combo, It's a very rare thing, a doctor and a model. The only doctor and an actor combo I know is we had one in the Tamil industry, Dr. Sedu. So that's the only he's the only person I know that doctor
So,
actor combo like.
but
So
we
you
shouldn't be
are actually
mistaken that I should not be called. No, I'm not a doctor, because again, on a serious note, because if you're a doctor, either you need to, because this doesn't come under as a doctor, but
yeah,
we just call
that
ourselves
that I know.
therapists. But otherwise, yeah, the combination. Yeah, the combination as such, it's quite tangential, because where is model and where is this? I know it's two different ends altogether, but then it's the journey. It's just the journey that I've just crossed. I just happened to be a model, but then again, these are different roles that we perform. But then we are not who we are, as the roles we play. This is not who we are. We are actually not the because we play different roles in each area of our life. For instance, if you actually observe your voice when you talk to your pet, your voice is so different. When you talk to a child, your voice is very different. When you talk to your parents, the voice is different. When you talk to your colleagues, the voice is different. When you talk to your boss, the voice is different. So we
We
play different
modulate.
roles. Yeah. Why? Because it's just that the ego consciousness, that it just wants to actually has to mold itself to suit that. But
Yes.
who we
Suit
truly
the situation.
are doesn't mold to anything. Yeah. But who we are truly, the divine self within, it'll not mold to anything. It just remains as it is. That's why it's always it's never it never changes. It remains the same. But I
Okay,
just
this
wanted to
one
ask
I
you. I think you should
definitely
really share.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you were saying something?
No. Actually, you should really share your story, because you're a writer. You're also a blogger, and you're also very fascinating that you also make the organic skincare products. It's really
Right.
exciting. I was really excited when you said that, because everybody these days we need everything natural. And if you're making natural skincare products, and I mean that's really amazing. So I think you should just share a bit about what you do and how you actually got inspired in a journey like that.
You want me to share it right now during the
Yeah, of course. Why
live?
not? Of course, of course. Why not?
All right, you caught me there because that's something
Okay.
that I've never
Well,
done
well,
in a
because
live session.
but no, it's really inspiring, isn't it?
No,
It's really, I felt it's really
I am
inspiring,
actually
and we
very
all have,
fascinated with all
we.
natural products, you know, natural things to use
Hmm,
because there are a lot of
hmm,
chemicals around in the products that we use, especially the cosmetics, the
hmm,
soaps, everything. When you read the label, you would know as to, what the
hmm.
ingredients carry and what the label is
Right.
and everything. People just see the outer label, it's very fancy, colorful, and people go by the label. They think the
Hmm,
product is the label. However fancy
hmm.
the label is, that's what the product will be. It is not that.
True.
You need to
True.
read the label. to understand what the product is actually.
True,
Only then you will
true,
know the
true.
amount of chemicals that gets into your skin. Even if you
Very
use a
true.
soap, you use it on the
Mm,
outer self, but then definitely that, gets into it. Something that definitely goes into your, the layers of the skin. So
mm,
that is when
mm,
I thought, I should have something natural for myself. I actually used to buy, natural
mm,
skincare products from people.
mm,
I actually live in Chennai, but then I was not able to
mm,
find anybody who could, make that in Chennai. So I used to source that from other places like Bangalore and,
mm.
places. I used to buy
Right.
even for one soap. I used to actually get it
Mm-hmm.
couriered from Bangalore. So that was what how I was.
That,
Then I
wow.
thought, why
No,
not,
that's really good.
I
That's,
do it myself.
yeah.
Why not,
Mm,
I do it myself? Because I would know my skin or my
correct,
family's skin better than anybody
correct,
else. And I would have,
correct,
preferences which
correct.
I could actually indulge in, probably with the fragrances or
Mm,
with the ingredients. You know,
mm.
with each
Right.
skin type or each skin condition has a different,
Mm,
perspective as far as the ingredient goes.
mm.
So that is when I started
Correct.
researching, staying up late in the nights, doing my research and everything. Then I came up with products which I used it on myself and my family first. So they were my
Amazing.
guinea pigs. And
Wow.
after which no, I started with why not, do the business. Or but in Chennai,
Mm,
in the beginning it was actually very slow market. People actually didn't understand what
mm,
handcrafted skincare is all about,
mm,
especially because of the pricing.
mm,
The handcrafted skincare products are
mm,
pricey when compared to the countertop products
mm,
that you get in the market. You buy
mm,
soap for 10 rupees
mm,
in the market, but
mm,
handcrafted skincare soap will definitely be anywhere between 200 to 400 rupees, one soap.
mm. Yes,
So
yes.
convincing people for that
Mm,
actually took me time. Even when I go for
mm,
exhibitions, exhibiting my products and
mm,
all that, first I would have
mm,
to give them the
mm,
explanation as to what this is, why I'm here, why these products,
mm,
why the pricing. Only then I would be able to make my sale.
mm,
So I am somebody who never, didn't want to give up. So
mm.
I
That's
did all
amazing.
my talking to that person and made sure
Yeah.
that that person buys it.
Mm,
So that is how I started my journey, and it just continues. Writing is something that I'm actually very passionate about, coming from a literature background. So that has
mm,
been my passion since long. So that I
yeah.
actually I'm holding on to it, and all thanks to this pandemic, it actually gave me a room to bring it
Yeah.
out. So that's what I was actually
Mm,
coming to my next question to you. This pandemic actually has brought
mm,
out the good as well as the worst in most of us. Lot of
yeah. Yeah.
entrepreneurs, they have faced disasters because of this pandemic and lockdown situation, and a lot of
True.
people have actually taken up new hobbies or
Mm,
learning a lot of new things.
correct.
It's actually brought out a lot of things that they wouldn't do generally. And also families have got
Mm,
together because of the lockdown. You don't have any other thing to do, so you
true.
need to talk to each other. You can't spend time anywhere
Mm,
else, so that has also happened. So,
true.
what do you think is the uh, what do you say? This pandemic actually is a boon or a bane? How do you see that? Not from the perspective of the the corona, but just as such. If you would tell me, how do you see it?
So, so personally, see, if you ask my personal experience of, the entire time, for me, it was a blessing because, you know, that it was a time that because I was already in my own inner journey, and it really helped me to actually to go deeper and deeper and deeper and like you said, a lot of new hobbies. I used to do painting, whatever just comes in my meditation. I just take the inspiration from there and I paint. And so it used to be a wonderful experience. But also we shouldn't forget that this pandemic also has was very, very challenging to a lot of people that, it really took a lot of lives. But then, but the most important thing is that, the question is, what did we learn from it, right? What did we learn from it? That is the most important thing that we have to ask ourselves, because that moment came because it was teaching us something that we need to see. Whatever challenge comes to us, everything is a teacher. It's all a teacher, and it has come to teach us something. So whenever we keep saying that, oh, going back to normal, going back to normal, but again, are you going back to the same normal consciousness, or are you going to be thankful, right? That first of all, that you are not infected, and second of all, that this time that you got actually has helped you to understand yourself, and understanding yourself has given you a light to see the people around you in a different light, right? Because we are in so much hurry with our life that we don't even have time to notice what is actually next to us. We don't have time to see most of the relationship challenges actually stems because of a lack of communication, right? They don't communicate. But then, in this time, that they would have had a chance to communicate, right? They would have had a chance to express themselves, because most of the relationship they don't even express themselves, right? So I think, if you ask me personally, for me it was a blessing, but I think for each person the experience differs. But the only thing that I would, ask you to introspect is, what did we learn from that? What did it teach us? That again we don't go back being the same person, right? That, for instance, today I'm speaking to you, tomorrow 10 million cells are dying within us, and tomorrow you're no more the same person as I met you today, right? You're a new self. But then the new self happens only when you choose to think new thoughts, and new thoughts will lead to new feelings, isn't it? And that's when the newness comes, right? That's what Paul said, that, you know, the old man is corrupt. Put off the old self, put on the new self. So the old self is corrupt, right? And it's time, then we need to actually become the new self. What did we learn from this pandemic? What did it teach us, right? Actually, I think this pandemic is more about love, because I think that, in a lot of ways, that, I think, if only we could just be more expressive, being more loving, right, as a human being, as whatever role we are playing as a father or a mother, because we are so busy with our world that we never even actually had time to halt, and that's why some people actually couldn't handle that, because for them, they just had to run. See,
Yeah, that's
that's
what I
the
was
problem,
coming to. This pandemic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because see, the thing is that you know the reason that you keep yourself busy all the time is because you do not want to face that reality. You want to be always
Exactly. Right.
preoccupied, so that you will never
Right.
be actually, be facing what you never wanted to face. You never want to face that
Very true.
silence. You never want to face that
Very true.
stillness. Because there's
True.
so many voices that is just talking, and like, you don't and that's why you run. All the addictions or
Yes.
the escape of reality,
Yes.
right? For the alcoholics, what do they do? Why do they drink? Because they want to escape that reality. They don't want actually that
Escape.
moment.
Yes.
They do not have the courage to face it. But then, unless you do not face it, unless you do not stand in front of the mountain and say, be thou removed, the mountain is always going to stand right in front of you. You can close your eyes, but the mountain doesn't disappear,
Right.
right? So, like I said, I would say this pandemic is actually one of the biggest teachers that
That's
it
actually
came to
a very
teach
harsh
mankind.
reality that people run from reality. They indulge
Correct.
themselves in something
And
else than they would rather indulge themselves in something else than face reality. So that's truth.
exactly,
I
that's the
also do the
challenge.
same thing. So
And that reality. See, and that reality is the real you. You should not forget that. The reality that you're trying to run away from is the real you. Unless you don't face that, you will never get to, get to crack that veil that is there right in front of you, isn't it? Because you always are actually, see, that's the fear of unknown, right? That's the fear of unknown, because you do not know what that carries for you. You want to be in the known.
Yes,
Oh, it's all right to
exactly.
be afraid. It's all right to be, in pain. It's all right to go through this, but I never want to go through that. I don't know what it carries. But in the unknown is where all the new possibilities are. So as long as you're in the known, you're thinking the same known thoughts. You're being same predictable person, thinking in the same way, feeling the same thing, having the same choices, having the same behavior, going through same experiences, having the same emotions, and you're just being the same. Like you're just living in that same limited energy, and you're looking at the life with the same limited perspective of your own being. Unless I do not expand my consciousness, unless I do not expand the horizon of my heart, if I do not know, if I'm so afraid of facing the unknown, then all that you're seeking is there in the unknown. When we say unknown, it's actually, according to quantum science, they call it as a quantum field, or a unified field, right? So this is actually the 3D plane, like a three-dimensional plane that we're living in. But there is also a five-dimensional plane. Like when Einstein said E is equal to mc square in school, I never understood what it was. I always by hearted it. But then it took time for me to understand. So the energy, right? So the energy is equal to matter into the speed of light, square of speed of light. So if anything has to become energy, then that matter has to actually travel fast, faster than the speed of light. So any object that travels faster than the speed of light, that becomes energy. So this world is formed, and the world, there is something that is there that's unseen, but that's as real as if you close your eyes, or when you're sleeping, right? You're very much alive, and yet you do not know that you're alive. You do not know you're a man or a female, right? A man or a woman. You do not know. But the minute you wake up is when because you're just coming back to the 3D plane. But then when you were sleeping, where were you? Right? So we enter that astral plane. Right? So this is actually the plane, and this plane, all this is. That's why if your journey is to heal, if your journey is to seek wealth, if your journey is to actually to whatever is your goal, your ideal goal, everything is existing in the general sweet spot of the present moment. Everything is present now, right? And everything is actually existing as a frequency. That's why Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secret of the universe, you need to start thinking in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, right? Because
So now
everything
that
is
when we're
existing as
talking about, yeah,
yeah. So everything is existing as energy, frequency, and vibration. Only when you are connected to that energy, right? And that's when you're drawing that energy in your life from the 5D, from the five-dimensional world to the three-dimensional world, right? And that's what happens. So it's really important to understand, to fathom the unknown, and that's when you will actually start to see miracles happening. That's when you will see synchronicity happening. That's when you will realize serendipity. So all this is actually, only when you step into the unknown. Yes.
so now that we're talking about pandemic, we see a lot of suicidal, happening, whether the person is rich
Yeah.
and famous
Yeah.
or not, the person takes
Yeah.
up being suicidal. A lot of actors, you open your newspapers or you take up social media, you see a lot of especially people from the film fraternity who take up suicidal, and people even tell that they were depressed or something like that. Do all the depressed people or people who go through depression, do they get suicidal, or how is it? Have you had
See,
cases
the
like
thing
that?
is, if you are, you be a celebrity, you be a porter, you be a cleaner, you be a mother. It does not matter what role you're performing in the society. That has nothing to do with the kind of inner battle that you're going through. Okay. So the
Because
pain is
that's
the
how
same for
people
everyone.
talk, because that person is rich or that person has got money. What is that he's got to lose that he's taken up suicidal? That's how people generally talk. So I just wanted to know,
So
why does that happen, especially
yes,
during this
yes. So
pandemic? We
first
have had a
thing,
lot of cases.
right. So the thing is that first of all, we need to understand that I am is unconditioned. I am is unconditioned. It is neither rich nor poor, neither master nor slave, neither young nor old, neither male nor female. It is the limit of the limitless, form of the formless, face of the faceless. So when the unconditioned become conditioned, that's when you get a name. That's when you give a profession to it. That's when you just add all the things about that. But then the pain is actually the same for everyone, no matter who you are, right? It's the same. So when you ask me that, see, the thing is that death is actually really important, not the physical death. The death of your old self is really important. Unless the caterpillar has to die, unless it doesn't die, the butterfly cannot come into existence. Until or unless the water bug gives away its nature, the dragonfly doesn't come into existence. Until or unless that we give up our old self, our new self cannot actually come into existence. So the death is really important, but not the physical death, right? So the suicide. So now the suicide, what it is that yes, we are depressed, and because you're not able to take the depression, right? But then the death actually, the concept that they thought of was that by dying they thought that they could actually get away with it, and that's exactly where they
Right.
went wrong, isn't it? But the thing is that if you actually have read the Journey of the Soul by Dr. Brian Weiss, that see the body doesn't carry. That's why they say the great Alexander, he just wanted his hand to be hanging out, because he just wanted to tell the world that even though I conquered almost the world, but still I die empty handed. The body doesn't carry anything, but the soul, which transcends, will carry the wisdom of this life to the next life. So now, so he says that as in our soul state, we choose. The first thing is our body. The second, you choose your parents. The third, you make a contract with your mother that you will be born through her womb. You'll come into the world, the 3D world, through her womb. The fourth is the purpose, and the fifth is the death. The thing is that when in your soul state you've already chosen. See, the most important thing here is the karmic lesson that you've chosen to come in this body, to be born in a certain family, to have a certain challenge is all decided by you. Okay, you have chosen all this before you came into existence. So that's why even in the Bible it says that even before the foundation of the world, God knew you. So even before the foundation of the world, God knew you. So it's that. So now what is happening is that you're thinking that if you could just kill this body, see, this body is only a virtual reality suit. Okay, you're just wearing this as a clock. You're just wearing it. What's within you is actually what is actually the real self, right? So this is just for a matter of time that you've come into. If you are to live in this plane, you need this body. That's why the spirits cannot live in this world. Why? Because it doesn't have a body. So if you have to live in this world, you need this body. But by killing this body, by just sabotaging this body, doesn't mean you get away with the mental, health issues. No. So that's where the problem is, the awareness about people whereas in US actually it's more of it's really recommended by doctors to visit a psychologist or something, but here the awareness towards it is actually not really that much, that we do not have a window where anybody could choose to walk into a session where they can actually freely open up to a therapist. No, it still hasn't happened. So you see, now why would a person push himself to an extent? Because he was not able to express himself to anybody, that nobody could accept him as who he is. And that's the problem, because when they do not get accepted as who they are, because the society looks at people as, oh, he cannot do this, he cannot do this. So now there is no space, no window for them to actually be themselves to anyone. Now they become isolated, although they are with, like you said, celebrities, they are always among people. Then what is that? But the
Right.
isolation is happening within, that they are not able to express. And more the reputation, the more you need to be, very careful about whom do you speak with, because again, you
Yes.
understand, all this. So
Yeah.
so now the suicide is actually not the way, anything can be, depression can be just worked on like that. You can just get over it. If only you could just, if you could, if you really love yourself, will you go to an extent of killing yourself? See, everything starts with a journey of self-love. The minute love
Right.
is there, then you will find answers to everything. But when there is hatred, when there is so much of pain, when there is so much of suffering, right? Then you think this world is doomed, that I do not, I don't belong anymore here, isn't it? So that's where, I think, they push themselves, but then, that's not the choice, right? I'm telling you, if depression is the problem, depression can be worked out. If stress is the problem, it can be worked out. If if whatever it is, that you have come in this life, and the challenge has been given to you, because through the challenge is where the awakening happens. And if you uh, kill your body, that doesn't change anything. Again, you need to take another life to come and to learn the same lesson in this life that you failed to learn. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? So, which means that
Yeah.
that karmic learning is the karmic lesson is what we are here for. So, what am I here for? That everybody has actually come for a certain lesson. You have come for a certain lesson. Your journey would have been certain different. My journey is different. So each one has a journey, but are we? Is our personalities actually aligned with the energy of the soul to work with the purpose of the soul, or am I actually completely, you know, I'm completely investing all my energy to fight all that is outside of me, that I don't even have to think about who am I. And that's a life, because we are living such a fast paced life that we don't even have time to ask all that. Because when you say, why can't you meditate? No, I do not have time to meditate.
Self introspection is important.
Absolutely, self-inquiry, like Bhagwan Sri Ramana Maharishi says that what is the greatest of all? It's the self-inquiry, just to introspect oneself. Who am I? What am I here for? Is this what I come here for? That I'm working from morning to night? Is this what I'm here for? But there is a greater purpose, and that's where you will start to shift. That's where the transformation happens. That's where the transmutation happens. That's where you metamorph, right? That's where the journey begins. Then you will be, you know, then you will be celebrating your inner self, right? And you will still be doing all that you're doing, but from the space of love, not from the space of, hatred. Because, suicide is actually that, that there's so much hatred, so much resentment, isn't it? There is so much unforgiveness that you go to the extent of killing your own self. So,
Right.
it's just not, yeah, pandemic, it's not that, only during pandemic, the suicides were, alarmingly high. Even other times also, it's actually high. But I think I would say that the world
No,
had
but
a
then
time to
especially
actually,
during pandemic, it was like on a rise. Every other day you get somebody suiciding. You get it on the social media. Earlier also it was there, but I
yeah,
feel a vast difference. So,
I
and
really
especially
understand that,
the
because,
celebrities,
again,
especially
now,
the
like I said,
celebrities, they take up to suiciding.
so, so, like I said, whatever reality you were escaping, suddenly you have to face it, and not only for one day, for, let's just say, for months, and so what do you do? Isn't it? How long can you escape that? So that's why it's really important that do not escape that reality, and just face it, and face that unknown. And the unknown is where your greatest expression of yourself is. The greatest Habit to break is the habit of being yourself. The greatest habit to create is to express the divine intelligence within you, right? And that's the journey. That's the journey we are all, here for. So, we just can't, we cannot force somebody to have that understanding because, Khalil Gibran, a great, poet said that it, pity, a stag can't teach swiftness to a turtle, right? So, you just can't, a stag cannot go and say, oh, why can't you be swift like me? No, it's the journey of the tortoise to be a tortoise. It's the journey of a stag to be a stag. So, our job is not to influence anybody. No, they will take their own time. It's when it is their time, that's why it's a divine timing, right? When it is their time, they will awaken. But our job is to continue to sow the seed until the seed germinates.
That's been actually, yeah. That's actually been a wonderful session, Kenneth. Seriously, I didn't have any, time calculation, nothing. It's actually 1 hour 45 minutes. If I see now, that's actually been one
Oh,
of my
is it?
longest
My God.
sessions,
Okay.
I suppose, because the topic was so interesting that I was just into it. Asking you questions and questions and because psychology and hypnotherapy is something that I personally like. It is, so I just kept on asking you questions, so
Hmm.
there was no time to keep a track of. So it's actually 1 hour. It's gonna close to
No,
two
it's
hours.
actually,
It's gonna be right now. I guess it's a history.
actually, actually, until you mentioned, I did not realize time because I did not even know that
It's gonna
actually we
be two
spoke for so
hours.
long. To be honest, I'm just yeah, but I'm just feeling as fresh as actually, beginning the conversation because I can just go on like this for hours and hours because this is
I
what
can sense that that you can go on. Because I
this is what
actually
I
feel
love.
I am talking to an encyclopedia. Definitely. That's what I
No, see,
actually
that's
felt
what
that I'm talking to an encyclopedia.
no, this is just my journey. That's all. I mean, this is just my journey because to understand my journey, to understand why I need to go through different portals, different modalities. The journey just takes you through, its own, paths. And such paths actually, what I crossed is what I share with people. So it's I'm so happy that I hope I'm sorry if I taken too much of your time, but thank you so much for having me in your show. I'm really
No, no,
happy.
actually, I
I think
was
before
more
we go,
interested. So that's the reason I kept on. I
I
was,
think
yeah.
Max is asking, do you sell your skincare
So I was
line
actually more
through
interested.
United
So that's,
States?
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
actually
you
a
should
woman,
you should
even
you
though
should
my profile
definitely.
pic says I'm a man and would be interested in it. Definitely, you can get in touch with me, Max. My number is there, my
Yeah,
page is there. You can get in touch with me, and I would
yeah,
definitely see to it. All right,
yeah.
and
I
thank you
think
so
she's
much,
Shiva
Kenneth,
and
for
Shakti.
having given us this time and
Yeah, thank you,
yeah,
thank you.
for having given us
Absolute
this
pleasure is
time and
mine.
sharing a lot of useful information. Especially, right now this is a much needed conversation. The mental health, how to take care of your mental health, and how a person has to lead
Yeah.
himself. It's a very very essential topic of conversation. Thank you so much for having given us all the information that anybody would require. And this episode is going to stream in the YouTube channel of Ink That Matters. So anybody who's missed it, I would definitely don't want you to miss it. A very, very interesting episode. So definitely go ahead and watch it in the YouTube channel of Ink That Matters. I'm sure you would be motivated and energized. And if you need any help, a psychiatrist or a hypnotherapist, you know whom to go to. He is an encyclopedia. Definitely
Yeah, no.
convinced that he is the one that you'll have to go to if you would need a psychiatrist or if you would need a help with your mental health. So definitely ask for help. You will get it. no, do not feel shy that if you feel that you're being, you're depressed or you're stressed or you have anxiety issues, definitely ask for help and you will get the help. And thank you so much for watching. And this is Shri Nishan from Roads Untraveled with Dr. Kenneth. And I would like to address you as doctor because you are, a psychiatrist, though you've told me not to. So I would definitely address you as that
No.
because that comes naturally to me. That's a natural emotion, calling you a doctor.
Yeah. Well.
So thank you
Well.
so much for
Well.
having
Just
given us your time.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anything you would want to add on a closing
Well,
note?
it's just yeah, I'm just so grateful, for having me in your show. And like I said, the purpose is that if one person could be touched, if one person's life could be changed, I think I think the purpose is actually, fulfilled. And second of all, like Shireen was saying, I'm not a psychiatrist, but if you want psychiatrists, yes, there are a lot of amazing psychiatrists too in Chennai. But like if you need anything to do as a hypnotherapist, I'm always glad to navigate
Yeah,
you. I'm
okay,
not
yeah,
going to help you. See,
hypnotherapy.
the help
Yes.
is something that one person, yeah, yeah. So I'm not going to help you because you're going to help yourself. I'm only just going to be a navigation instrument to guide you to your, inner sanctuary. So thank you so much, Shireen, and thank you
Max is
so
so
much
happy that
to
he won.
everyone who has been watching. Love you all. I love you,
Max
Max.
is
I just
very
wanted to
happy
say,
and he calls you the model encyclopedia. And
Max,
he
I really,
also says that you touched me
oh, thank you, Max. I really love you so much, and
so
I just
much.
send you a lot of
That's the
love.
purpose
Thank you.
served.
Yeah, I think my
Thank you
purpose is
so much.
fulfilled.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Kenneth.
Thank you. Bye, Shireen. Bye, Max.
Bye.